Welcome to Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole, hosted by two nationally published Atlanta interior designers, Joann Kandrac and Kole. These energetic women are also world travelers, charity givers, and bloggers with a wealth of information to share and stories to tell about the interior design world. Okay, now just a warning, this is going to be fun and not too serious. After all, they still do have an interior design business running at full speed.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is episode 135 with Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole with our guest, photographer Emily Followill. So Joann's on vacation this week, visiting family in Cleveland, and I'm the big girl running solo, chatting today with Emily, who is an acclaimed photographer and a longtime friend. Emily was born and raised in Atlanta, and she discovered her passion for photography by taking black and white photos and developing them in a darkroom. Old school, good stuff. She continued to hone her skills at the University of the South in Sewanee, Tennessee, where she double majored in studio art and art history. So over the last 25 years, she has developed an incredible portfolio of work where she captures iconic images that tell the stories of the people, the places, and the pieces. While photographing for nationally acclaimed magazines and books, or for renowned designers, architects, and landscape architects, or for the nation's most esteemed brands, Emily has the ability to capture simple beauty in complex settings, which is very tough to do. Her photographs have been featured in numerous acclaimed publications, including Veranda, Malou, Garden and Gun, Traditional Home, Luxe, Southern Home, Better Homes and Gardens, Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles, Southern Living, The New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and many others. Phew, I don't know if there are any others. She's also published a book of her own photography, The Southern Rustic Cabin, which has its place on my bookshelf, that was published in 2015, and she is responsible for many of the beautiful images on our website, and I'm so excited to catch up with her today. Before we start, I want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Maxim Lighting. It's a family-owned company founded by Jacob Sperling, who immigrated to the United States and built this global brand as a creative visionary. Known for lighting fixtures that flawlessly mix the latest metals and technology into iconic designs, Maxim Lighting honors traditional, timeless styles while embracing the latest home fashions. They are deeply grounded in family and the next generation of Sperlings. Naomi, Nathan, Adina, and Dahlia strengthen and expand the capabilities of the brand. We had the opportunity to tour their Dallas showroom, and we were totally blown away by the designs and the impact of their lighting. And I have to say, we told Naomi this, the photos don't do this amazing lighting justice. So if you ever get a chance to see one of their showrooms, you got to go. But check them out online at maximlighting.com. So all that housekeeping is done. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks so much for having me, Kelly. This is so much fun to be with you today.
I think you were one of the very first photographers we ever hired. We were at, let me go back in time, see if Joann was here, she would remember this, but we were at a design event with Kelly Ellis, and Clinton Smith he was at the time was at Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles, was there, and we walked up to him and said, "Who are your favorite photographers?" And you were one of them. And we're like, well, okay, well, if we want to get published, let's just go to the magazine's favorite photographers. And we called you. And that was probably 10 years ago, at least.
Yeah, I think it probably was. So much fun. I remember some of those early shoots with you guys. Always fun to see your beautiful designs and help get your name out there.
Yeah. So give us a little background and kind of how you grew your business and what a day in your life looks like these days.
So I went to a 2-year photography school here in Atlanta. It was called the Southeastern Center for the Arts when I was there, and it is now the Creative Circus. And
oh my gosh, do you know that my daughter Emery went there?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And now it's closing and changing and doing all sorts of stuff.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it's closing. I know. She launched a great career out of there at getting a 2-year portfolio degree. Yeah.
I'm
that's
so
funny.
proud of
I never
her.
knew that.
Yes.
That's
yes.
awesome.
So
all right. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. So I did the 2-year degree at Southeastern Center for the Arts. And while I was there, I did several different things on the side. I worked in Showcase Camera down below. A guy had a rental business, a photo rental business, and I helped meet other photographers and get them their gear, and then also got to use the said gear, which was awesome. And I assisted photographers, and I interned for interior designer, which helped me get into ADAC, and ran around in there and kind of learned my way around there. And then I started assisting photographers and got to do everything behind the scenes, from being in nice homes and shooting those to a 2-day Big Mac and fries and Coke shoot, to the Falcons cheerleaders and restaurants at 1 a.m. and all of that good stuff. Helped give me an idea of what I did and did not want to do, and learned a lot with hands-on experience there.
Wow.
In addition to using my school knowledge. But knowing the freelance world was tough for a 20-something and needed some insurance, I was lucky to land a full-time job at GA Communications, which is now Pure Red Studios. And it was they were really on the forefront of digital photography. They were a pre-press house, and so they were doing everything desktop publishing. And so they started bringing all the photography in-house. And I was so fortunate to get to use these really expensive cameras and learn from those that are putting it into print what the numbers needed to look like and how you needed to capture things so that it looked good for the final outcome. So that was just really fabulous. And I was a studio manager with another guy and did that for about 6 years. We shot everything from pens and pencils to room sets to jewelry to fashion to soup cans to you name it. We did it.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So it was super great, but I really wanted to develop this love of shooting interiors and gardens. And I started doing a little bit of that on the side through Pure Red and shooting some of the ads in the back of Veranda magazine and bringing those in to Pure Red. So that was really fun. And then had baby number 1 and tried to go back part-time to the studio, and it just was, I realized it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. My husband was awesome and supported me and said, well, let's go out and you can go back to your freelance thing. So it was a great way to work and still be with my babies as much as I could. And at the time I was shooting film, and so my children were regulars running around town with me at Showcase Camera and all my labs and all that good stuff. But
oh my goodness.
I shot a few days a week, and it was great. And what I started mostly doing, Better Homes and Gardens, Meredith Corporation, had all these special interest publications, window and wall ideas, kitchen and bath ideas.
Oh my gosh. Window and Wall Ideas was like my favorite magazine when I was very first starting out. Like I lived and breathed that magazine. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Kids' rooms. I mean, all these magazines that aren't there anymore. They had over 100, I think, publications per year out of their special interest publications. So my friend Lisa Mowery and I, she was a field editor, so she would find the projects and pitch them to the powers that be in Des Moines, Iowa, and they would give us an assignment and give us a shot list, and we'd go on our way, and she'd style it and I'd shoot it, and we were doing this 4 to 8 times a month, which was awesome for me.
Back when the magazines paid for photography, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Back when the magazines paid for photography. Exactly. That doesn't happen very much anymore. The budgets are a little different. And I mean, they were paying for our lunch and everything. Anyway, so that's kind of how I started. It's kind of changed a little bit since then and evolved and morphed. And I just really love being able to capture beautiful designs by all these amazing designers and get out there in it. So,
well, all that paid off because your portfolio is unbelievable, and the breadth of work that you have from gardens to exteriors, interiors, hospitality. I mean, it's just products. It's totally amazing.
You're sweet. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I forgot a day in the life. A day in the life is different every single day, pros and cons, never dull. So it keeps me on my toes. And I just feel fortunate to get to go to all these awesome places and meet wonderful people and capture beauty most of the days. But we're always watching the weather and the light and negotiating homeowners and pets and children and being in a different space every day. So it sounds a lot more glamorous than it probably is. We're schlepping gear and moving furniture and all that good stuff. And then on the days when I'm not shooting, people always ask, how many days a month do I shoot? It varies, and stuff is shifting all the time still in this post-pandemic world, or still in the pandemic as you're experiencing. So when I'm not shooting, there's still a lot of behind the scenes. There's editing and organizing, getting ready for the next shoot, delivering images, all that desktop stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
lots
think
to do.
Joann and I talk about this a lot, and we have a lot of designers and design enthusiasts that listen to us, and I just cannot express enough the importance of investing in professional photography, and it is quite the investment, but it's a lot of work for both the designer and the photographer. I mean, at the end of a photo shoot, I can't even form words. I'm so exhausted. From the styling to just being really involved and, just the work, the meticulous patience that goes into getting that perfect shot, I can't even express. So you mentioned all your gear and stuff. What do you travel with for a typical shoot? Because it's quite amazing what you guys lug around.
Yeah, we lug it around. I'm still driving a Suburban that's full most of the time with gear in the back. And, I've got my lights, which lately I haven't been using a whole lot, which it's a great day when I don't pull out a light. But lights, cameras, stands, black cloths, tools. I've usually always got a pair of hiking shoes in case I need to go out in the wet grass in the mornings, that kind of thing, and then still have to go inside somebody's house. Don't want to wear my nice shoes. Outside, ladders, you name it. It's always fun when my clients say, hey, do you have some tape? Do you have a steamer? Do you have a hammer? Do you have nails? Do you have glass cleaner? Yeah, I've got all that stuff. So that's
key.
You gotta be ready for it all.
We recently had a client watching us as we did a shoot, and her mouth was dropped most of the time. She just had no idea. And I have to laugh because when you shot my house that was featured in Southern Home, I distinctly remember I had this big glass vase in my kitchen with this huge kind of palm coming out of it, but it just wouldn't sit right. And you're like, no problem. And you take out this duct tape and you literally taped it exactly right to the glass and then photoshopped anything that could be seen out. I mean, I was like, wow, girl, that's tricky right there.
Tricks. Yeah. Tricks. Yeah. So, all of it is usually in my car, ready to go, and reflectors and scrims and all that good stuff. And if we need to fly, I can pack it all up. But usually if it's like a 6-hour drive or less, I'd rather drive.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I've got all my stuff in my gear.
Do they make special, how do you put all that on a plane? Do they make special stuff that keeps it all safe and certain luggage?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have my cases, and they, it's so far so good. So I always carry on my camera. Do not check my camera.
I left my $1,000 Nikon on the plane one time up in the overhead, and funny it wasn't returned. Yeah. So that's a good point. So do you find these days that most designers you shoot for hire a stylist, or do they do it themselves? Because Joann and I go back and forth. We've always done it ourselves, and I usually do all the florals myself, and we recently hired somebody to do all the florals, and it didn't work out. So now I'm thinking, wow, maybe we're kind of good at it. But what are your expectations when you get to a shoot? And what do you see for stylists versus no stylists?
I really like working with a stylist, unless it's a client that I've worked with for a long time, and I know we know each other and that kind of thing. I highly recommend a stylist. You designers do an amazing job. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of designers do it. You guys do it, and it works. But designers and architects are used to taking a 2-dimensional plan to 3 dimensions. And then the photographer is going to take that 3-dimensional scene and take it back to 2 dimensions. And the camera doesn't see like your eye sees. So a stylist sees kind of like a photographer and knows that, for a kitchen shot, we need something on the island, we need something on the back, but you don't need to cover every single surface because the camera is, you don't want to put something in front of the sink. You want to be able to see the faucet. You don't necessarily need something on the back left if you're going to have something on the island on the front left, because that'll kind of fill that space. So they kind of see like a photographer sees, and then they also have the input from editors and kind of know what editors are looking for, and what makes a good shot, what can take it to the next level. And again, maybe help you not be so exhausted at the end of a day. But, it's kind of like an install. You're working, you're moving, you're doing all that nonstop. So the stylist could also help you bring stuff in if you need to, can keep you in your office doing billable hours, and they can be running around, getting that rug, getting that piece of art to go over that TV, getting the stuff that your client didn't buy, those kind of things. They help bring in that last layer to make it, to finish it off if it's not there. Because the editors really want that final layer.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We've done many last minute art gallery runs and runs for extra, books or throws or things to, so I know all that. And after this, the last couple we've done, I feel like Joann and I might step back now that we've shown we can do it. We don't need to anymore. But I often critique, we can't help ourselves when I'm looking in design magazines, and I think the kitchen is the one that's the most often overstyled. It makes me crazy when there's just bowls of fruit and bread and flowers, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't even see the kitchen. I'm so distracted by all the stuff.
Right.
So I think that editing and that meticulous eye for just enough is what is really important.
Yeah, it's hard to make it feel real, but positioned, but not hokey. Where's the life in the image? Did someone? I just like kind of creating a scene. So that you're not overdoing it. Is this a breakfast scene? Then let's kind of go with that theme. Is this we're fixing a salad? What are we doing here? Where's the person? Where's the story? What are you envisioning when you designed this room? So
exactly. And I think the other thing that's great about you and really photographers of your caliber is that what the magazines are looking for. If that's as a designer, if that's what you're after. But to me, if I've created a beautiful space and I'm spending the money on photography, I'm going to go the extra mile to do what the magazine editors want, because I might as well try and pitch it and get it published, because I'm almost to the finish line,
Right.
And so sometimes I walk into a shoot and know what magazine I want to pitch it to first, so we'll kind of photograph for that. Or sometimes I don't know, but I love the feedback that you give and the things that you already know from all your experience.
Yeah, no, I do think it's good to kind of have a end product in mind. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, everybody wants to be in a magazine. So kind of working towards that. But your images can also be used to enter contests and get yourself out there on social media and blog posts and all these other things. So professional photography really takes all of that up to the next level. Definitely with the contests, I feel like that puts you in a much different category and looked at a second time rather than your iPhone photos or whatever.
Absolutely. And it's funny because years ago we were getting frustrated because we were having a hard time getting published, and somebody said, well, a lot more people read blogs than are reading, design magazines. So why don't you reach out to some of the bigger ones? And I remember reaching out to House of Turquoise and getting on her blog, and we got more attention and more feedback from that than we had from any of the magazines that we'd ever been in. And the contests, ASID recognition, all that kind of little stuff, people reaching out saying, do you have a laundry room that we could focus on? It's just,
right.
It's helped our SEO just soar, just to have, a cute laundry room for a quick feature, or a outdoor patio for a quick feature, or whatever.
Right. That's kind of the way things are right now. But if you don't have the images, then you get passed up. So I recommend, as hard as it is, because you guys are so busy, stopping. You guys in general, designers in general, are all so busy going to the next thing, or their projects are getting spread out now over 3 years instead of one, to really make the effort to stop and photograph things before that awesome basement gets destroyed by the teenagers, or the dog throws up and messes up the fancy silk rug and all of that stuff. I just highly recommend stopping and doing that. It's hard, but bringing in a stylist to help with that is a great idea. And you've got those images ready to go when somebody asks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. So I'm seeing, again, when I look in magazines, I see some things that repeat themselves, and I'm kind of over it, like the Hermes blanket, on the back of the chair. If I see another orange blanket, I'm going to scream. Yeah. Or a bowl of green apples or a bowl of lemons, just done for. So what are some styling things that you particularly love, and especially for florals and greenery? Because to me, it seems like it's getting much more just organic and natural and simple and not overdone in any way.
Yeah, I like the simple. You're not going to get an FTD floral arrangement. A group of one single type of flower, a branch from outside. We're always going outside and getting stuff. Just make sure you've got a container ready to go for it. Yep. If you're at the beach, don't overdo the palms, but you can do one here or there. Even a small container of lamb's ear or hosta or something like that, something that's blooming outside, really can help you out a lot. Making sure that you're not using things over and over again. Don't move the props around. We have used, if we've got some amazing antique chair, we have been known to use it at the end of a hall and then also somewhere else. And one of my stylists says, you could have two of these. You could have a pair.
That's fair.
That's fair. Another thing to remember is negative space isn't always negative. It's nice to have that balance. I'm always looking for the balance in the photo. And every single space doesn't have to be filled. One of my clients loves to quote that back to me, saying, "A famous photographer said, negative space isn't always negative." But so it's nice to make sure that your design is singing, and that what you bring into the design into the photo isn't overwhelming your design. That we're still capturing what you set out to do, and what you're adding to it is only enhancing the scene.
That's such a good point. I agree completely. And I going back to that kitchen being over stylized. I think the editing is probably one of your greatest skills, and what the stylists do best is just getting it just right. So you're right. It's just an enhancement, and that's all it is.
Right. Yeah. For the most part, we go in there and clean off every kitchen counter. I mean, don't trip behind the island, because there's so much stuff on the floor behind the island.
Every appliance is gone. Everything.
Exactly.
So you have traveled so far and done so many. Do you have a favorite project or most memorable one?
That's a hard question.
I know it is.
I mean, I'm going to say the most memorable shoots lately have been the ones that we're creating, that are several shoots all together, creating a book. And that process of working towards a complete body of work, seeing it all come together as, true teamwork, if there ever was, and bringing all these different shoots together. I've got one book that we're finishing up right now that's going to be released in 2023, spring of 2023, and then another that's coming out in August. So it's just so much fun.
This is your book, or you're helping with somebody else's?
No, these are other designers.
That's awesome.
So that's really fun. And like working on my own book, it was a series of shoots that all came together. So
is it watching one house progress through time, or in getting finished, or several projects?
Both.
Okay.
This one that's coming out in August is only 2 houses through the seasons. And then the one that's next spring is several of this designer's projects. So, but I would say that the most memorable shoots end with a day where we're jumping in the lake, or, a dip in the pool or a ride on the ATV around the property or a boat ride at sunset, because of course we have to get that photo op. And,
of course,
when there's a glass of wine involved, it's always good too.
Of course. That's awesome. So what's on your bucket list these days? I was scrolling through Facebook this morning and I'm like, oh my God, everybody I know is on a trip somewhere. It's absolutely crazy town with travel right now. Everybody's getting it out of their system again. So do you have anything on your bucket list for work or personal?
I need to get another book on the drawing board. I feel like with 2 kids in college, I was thinking that now I would be working on my next book, but instead I'm working on everybody else's, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. But, and with 2 kids in college, I'm traveling around to see them. And, the free time that I thought was going to be so free isn't really there. And
oh yeah, forget that. Parents' weekends and sorority stuff and football and
working it all around that.
And they move every year when you just want to kill them and say, can't you just stay in one place for more than 1 year?
Yes. Yeah. My daughter has gotten to stay in one place this summer, so that's been nice. Oh. And the son is moving into an apartment, so I've been thinking about that as well.
Yeah.
I might need your help. Although, the boy doesn't need that.
Yeah, the boy doesn't need as much.
Anyway, but my bucket list is just continuing to work for interior designers and architects and landscape architects. And one thing I do want to say is that I love shooting for my well-established clients, of course, and getting them published is always just such a thrill, but it's also so exciting to work with up-and-coming designers and get them out there. I've one client that we were shooting her house, and I told her that she needed to enter her bathroom in the Bath of the Year contest with Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles, and we took 3 shots so she could enter them, and darn if she didn't win it. And then she went on to win the Kitchen of the Year too and had her kitchen on the cover. So that was just so much fun to see that. And it's, she's done the hard work. I just have a little bit of help getting her out there and, having photos of their beautiful work. So that's really what keeps me going.
That is awesome. And I think that's a really good point, because I think we all, in this business, we all have to learn from each other. And if we keep collaborating and keep creating and being on great teams, I've learned so much from you and other photographers. I've learned so much from our architects and our contractors, and we all make each other better. So I think that if there's a young designer out there who's never really step forward and invested in a photographer like you, it's not only an investment in their portfolio, but an investment in themselves and learning just what the camera sees and what you can produce, when you take these photos. Sometimes I look at these photos, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that. I mean, she made it look even better, but I did that,
You did it.
So it's just fantastic. So yeah, I think that's a great point. And you never know, take a few, like you said, take a few shots, throw it out there, contests and Instagram and see what comes back at you. But those photographs make all the difference, the quality of them.
Well, thanks. I enjoy doing it. It's such a treat to be here and talk to you about all this today.
So how can people find you and follow you?
I'm on Instagram, Emily Followill Photographer, and Facebook not as much. Instagram's my main thing that I like to keep up with. More on my stories. I haven't been posting that much lately, which I need, everybody ebbs and flows through that. Yep. I need to get back on that. And my website is emilyfollowill.com, and you can reach me both of those ways.
That's awesome. Well, we end every podcast, as you know, with quotes, so I get to read them both today. And the first one is hilarious because it's so Joann, and I wish that she was here to read this one, but it goes like this. What my partner needs to fall asleep, about 8 seconds and a very flat old pillow. What I need to fall asleep, 7 pillows, sleep mask, fan on level 2, pitch black, door slightly cracked open, rain sounds, and a full glass of water. That's true in Joann. That's me and Mike too, to be honest.
That's pretty true in our life too.
All right, here's our serious quote for the day. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. And that's from Kenneth Blanchard, business consultant and motivational speaker. So I love that. And I think both of us are definitely very committed to what we're doing.
Very committed. It's fun. I feel lucky that I get to be committed to something I love to do.
Me too. Well, thanks for chatting with me for today's episode while I run solo. And thank you, Maxim Lighting, for sponsoring us. We love you guys. And please rate, review, and share us. We really appreciate it when you do that so that other people can find out about our podcast. So thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Join Joann and Kelly weekly for a lively conversation about trends, travels to industry events, current design projects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, do's and don'ts, product recommendations, and more. Be sure to follow the fun on Facebook. They're on Instagram at Kandrac Kole, and of course, you've got to visit them online at kandrac-kole.com for more information.